The story begins by telling us that thinking only about oneself will only lead to confusion, because that was the mistake the protagonist made. After misinterpreting an unrequited love, he swore to himself that he would never fall for indirect hints again. That's how we're introduced to Okabe Kazuaki, our main character, who, following that way of thinking, has been completely immersed in his studies since that incident, trying to leave the topic behind. It's said that he does all of this solely to avoid failing his university entrance exams. However, even though he wants to focus, unexpectedly one of his classmates locks eyes with him. We learn her name is Sano Kiara, whom we'll call Kiara. Because of this, our protagonist mentions that this has happened several times, which sometimes makes him wonder if she might actually like him. But he quickly returns to reality, believing his overconfidence is playing tricks on him. While he continues his inner monologue, someone interrupts him. It's another classmate who, seeing that he's still alone as always, tells him that this year she'll keep him company too, adding that she'll have him all to herself. That's how we're introduced to Gina, a cheerful and outgoing girl. In short, the complete opposite of our protagonist. Staying calm in response to that comment, which is clearly a hint, Okabe tries to convince himself that she only says those things out of pity. But Gina keeps insisting, saying it must be destiny that they've spent 2 years sitting next to each other, so what they have must be more than just a simple friendship. At that, our protagonist stops her, letting her know it's better not to say things like that so lightly. After all, she's very cute, and from what we can see, this protagonist doesn't hold back his comments, though he instantly regrets saying that. However, before things can escalate or somehow be resolved, Kiara appears in front of our protagonist. Without saying a single word, she approaches him just to ask if he is Okabe. After he confirms it, she hands him a paper with her contact information. And just like that, she leaves without another word. This makes Gina question the protagonist about whether he knows Kiara, but he admits they've never even spoken before. Upon hearing that, Gina tells him that Kiara is a very mysterious girl with great beauty, but she's never been seen getting close to anyone. So she teasingly comments that Kiara must definitely want something with him. Though she immediately regrets saying it, since her jealousy briefly comes to light. Fortunately for her, Okabe had already left. On his way home, before leaving the school grounds, the protagonist hears someone call out to him. When he turns around, we're introduced to a girl named Shuei, who turns out to be his childhood friend. We're also told she's a year younger than him. What catches Okabe's attention are the letters Rui has in her hands. It's her first day of school, and she's already receiving them. But suddenly, a strong gust of wind catches her off guard, and she drops the letters. They end up falling into a nearby fountain. Without caring about getting wet, she rushes to retrieve them, because those letters were written by people who were thinking about her. Rui can't ignore those feelings. Seeing that, Okabe tells himself that she still has that aura of brilliance that characterizes her. So he offers her his handkerchief and lets her know she's still as charming as ever. That prompts Rui to ask if he's fallen for her again, since she somehow believes he likes tomboyish girls. Even so, she tries not to pressure him too much, and instead tells him he's still as kind as always. Before they can continue their conversation, a group of girls shows up looking for Rui. She has no choice but to go with them, so she says goodbye to our protagonist and leaves. But the moment she does, Kiara appears behind Okabe and surprisingly asks if they can walk home together, creating an awkward atmosphere that she quickly tries to handle by asking again if they can go together. In that way, she ends up convincing our protagonist. Not far from there, Rui sees what's happening, and it seems that envy begins to consume her. But that's something for later. Continuing with our protagonist, he asks Kiara why she was looking for him, but she avoids the question, saying she just wanted to walk with him, and without understanding why. Without really understanding what's going through her mind, she suddenly decides to call our protagonist by his first name, or rather, she wants to give him the nickname, Kasu. Blushing, she asks if it's okay to call him that. Confused, our protagonist agrees, which makes Kiara look genuinely happy for finally being able to do that. And I'll just say this, she's already taking the lead. Because not only does she ask for that, she also tries to get his contact information. This makes Okabe start wondering what exactly she's planning, since he doesn't want to get his hopes up over indirect hints again. he seriously starts thinking about what all of that really meant. Eventually, we reach the moment when he's attending his tutoring session. It's explained that, in order to continue improving his studies, he asked his cousin, Akari, to be his private tutor. We're told she's a university student at a prestigious institution, so if he wants to aim for perfection, she's the right person to help him. However, Akari quickly notices that he's very distracted. Since it's only the first day of the new semester, she suggests they could end the tutoring session early. Even so, Okabe insists on continuing to study, leaving Akari with no choice but to support him. As she spoils him the way she usually does, we see the protagonist repeating to himself that he must not misinterpret things again. Going back to that time in the past, he explains that his older sister's friend used to frequently visit their house. Whenever she had the chance, she would hug him or dote on him. Eventually, Okabe convinced himself that she acted that way because she liked him in a special way. The intense physical affection and sweet words she gave him ended up making him fall in love. But it all turned out to be a complete misunderstanding. In the winter of his third year of middle school, just when he was preparing for his entrance exams, the girl he had fallen in love with suddenly got married to another man, just like that. With his heart broken, our protagonist had been certain that they were in love with each other. The blow was so hard that he couldn't focus on his studies, which led him to fail his high school entrance exam. No one knows the real reason behind his sudden drop in performance. Not even his cousin, who has been by his side all this time, knows the truth. He decided to keep that unrequited love a secret. Even though he gives off the impression of being serious, deep down he's just a repressed guy with an extreme level of self-consciousness. Recognizing this issue, he asks his cousin how she manages to overcome her worries. From his point of view, she's capable and disciplined, someone he truly admires. That's why he wants to know her secret to becoming someone like her. But Akari chooses to keep that information to herself. This makes the protagonist think she never really teaches him what he actually needs. She only comments that sometimes worries are important too. Right then, surprisingly, Okabe receives a message. That alone is unusual, since he's such a loner. He checks the notification and sees that it's from Kiara. She simply writes that she hopes they'll get along well tomorrow. It seems that message didn't sit well with someone else. But for Okabe, it makes him wonder if she truly likes him. Even so, he doesn't want to misinterpret things again. So this time, he decides he'll be careful. Shifting perspectives, as we were already shown the intentions of the three girls, it becomes clear that each one of them is in love with our protagonist. But after seeing Kiara's obvious intentions, they can't get it out of their heads that Okabe might not see them as someone special. Feeling threatened by that mysterious girl, we first look at Gina's side. After what happened today, when Okabe told her she was cute, she was left stunned for a moment. After all, she's been putting effort into getting his attention, believing that someone as cute as her should have no problem making a gloomy guy fall at her feet. But now that another girl is stepping into her path, she starts wondering if she's no longer number one. Then the tone shifts to something darker regarding Rui. She's the most affected by seeing another girl get close to the protagonist. Looking back at the past, Rui shaped her cool and aloof personality solely to make Okabe notice her. On top of that, she's his only childhood friend. Completely heartbroken, she asks herself if she's no longer number one for the protagonist. And lastly, we have Akari, completely resentful, on the verge of tears. She admits that she decided to become an intelligent and mature woman just to be more appealing to the protagonist. Even though they're cousins, she somehow ended up misinterpreting the admiration he felt for her. On top of that, since they've known each other for so long, she saw herself as the obvious winner, the one who knew him better than anyone else. But now, in her eyes, Okabe has betrayed her. Because of that, all three of them begin asking themselves the same question. They believed that Okabe was already in love with them. But now that Kiara has entered the game, it seems like she's about to show them who's really in charge. And so, this story full of misunderstandings truly begins. Continuing where we left off, the next day, Okabe tells us more about Gina. He points out that she's the only one in the class who has spoken to him during all the time they've been classmates, which makes him see her as someone pleasant and kind. But shifting to Gina's perspective, she's completely convinced that our protagonist is hopelessly in love with her. To confirm it, she believes she only needs to turn around and look at him. She's sure that right now he must be admiring her cuteness. However, the moment she turns to greet him, she discovers that Kiara is standing next to Okabe. And just like that, from early in the morning, it feels like they're already stealing her guy. Trying to stop this from continuing, Gina casually comments that they seem to be getting along pretty well despite having spoken for only one day. Though this embarrasses the protagonist, Kiara asks if they really look like they're getting along that well. Seeing Okabe's flustered expression, she quickly realizes she might be causing him trouble and sweetly apologizes. But our protagonist tells her that's not it. What's actually making him nervous is wondering why she wants to get so close to him. Faced with that question, Kiara falls silent for a few moments. Visibly embarrassed, she chooses to leave as quickly as possible instead of answering him. That action only confirms the inevitable for Gina. Kiara's shy behavior makes it obvious she's in love with Okabe. And it wouldn't be surprising if, sooner or later, he falls into that girl's clutches. Even so, Gina can't do much to stop that progress. So, keeping up her usual attitude, she says she's glad he managed to make a friend besides her. However, Okabe makes it clear that he didn't come to high school to make friends. He came to study and get into the university he wants. But despite saying that, he still wonders whether Kiara is in love with him. Hearing that, Gina realizes her biggest fear might have come true. Okabe is truly aware of that home-wrecking cat. All she can think about is how just yesterday he told her she was cute, and now he's already chasing someone else. Her flawless plan of simply being kind should have at least made him suspect that she's the one in love with him. Still, taking advantage of the situation now that he's revealed such crucial information, Gina tells him that anyone would misinterpret things if someone approaches them so casually. She convinces him that Kiara is a mysterious girl. So if she hasn't confessed, maybe he's just imagining those feelings. Bringing him back down to earth, the protagonist once again convinces himself that Kiara isn't trying to form a relationship with him. Grateful to Gina for opening his eyes, Okabe says that when it comes to things like this, she's the only person he could consult. That simple sentence echoes over and over in Gina's mind. Just the fact that he emphasized he could only consult her is enough for her to believe that Okabe feels something for her. Not wasting that opportunity, Gina can't hide the hint of superiority in her tone as she tells our protagonist he can ask her for advice about anything he needs. After all, she'll listen to whatever he wants to say, even if it's about the girl he likes. With a smile, she just hopes that girl is her. After that event, Gina becomes convinced that Okabe doesn't like Kiara that much. Assuming he must have feelings for another girl, she naturally believes it's her. After all, she's the one who has spent the most time with him at school. Even though she feels a bit uneasy about Kiara hanging around Okabe, her friends point out that she also gets along with him. Gina brushes it off, saying it's nothing, they just sit near each other. But despite trying to hide it, she can't deny that people have seen her chatting with him quite happily, which makes her friends start to think that it's almost certain that Okabe is in love with her. But to maintain her image, Gina tells her friends that even if that were true, she doesn't think she would accept it. Still, deep in her mind, she has other intentions. Repeating to herself that, just as she thought, he's in love with her, and that it's obvious to everyone else too, she convinces herself there's no reason to worry. However, while walking home, Gina runs into Okabe on the way and immediately goes to greet him. But as she approaches, she realizes he isn't alone. Standing beside him is a very beautiful girl, and instantly Gina wonders who the hell she is. Her fears grow when she hears the girl call the protagonist by a nickname. She asks if he knows the girl who greeted him. Our protagonist introduces Gina as a classmate. Meanwhile, Rui introduces herself as his childhood friend who lives in his neighborhood. She even adds that he must get along well with everyone in his class. Just knowing that makes her set aside any worries about him being a loner, since she casually mentions that ever since kindergarten, he used to spend all his time with her. Seeing how well those two get along, something inside Gina seems to crack. Still keeping up her cheerful girl act, she comments lightly on it and quickly tries to escape the situation as fast as possible. As she walks away, she struggles to hold back the sadness building up inside her. That's when she realizes there's yet another girl besides Kiara who gets along well with Okabe, and not just that, but their childhood friends. That alone makes her believe Rui is the girl Okabe is actually in love with. Comparing herself, Gina admits she's only known him for a year and they've only talked a handful of times. She finally understands that, to him, she's just a classmate. She hasn't made any real progress because she assumed she was the only one for Okabe.